Dubious ones, welcome back. Reason we're in it today? Well, we've got a big update. Sounds like we've got confirmation that we're probably most likely seeing not this surprise, but a Mercedes Moné surprise at AEW Full Gear as our surprise signing. We know we've got a big signing coming up. I'm almost 100% confident now that it's going to be Mercedes Moné. We've been expecting her in AEW for a while now. I'm almost 100% confident that it is her now because of this. Will we see Will Ospreay at Full Gear? Quite possibly. Will he be the big signing? I don't think so. I mean, he is obviously a huge signing. He would be the big signing, but I think Mercedes Moné is definitely going to be there. I mean, they could do it differently. It could be Mercedes shows up and you see her there at AEW, and she doesn't sign a contract, but you see Will Ospreay signing it. Could be the reverse, but I think it's going to be Mercedes signing the contract in front of the crowd. Why do I think that? Well, there's a very good reason. Today, if you've seen on wrestling Twitter, this has come up and gone across everywhere. At the most recent Ring of Honor show, who did we see debut? But oh my god, it's her bad reputation. Yeah, it is the one, the only, Ronda Rousey. Do I want to get demonetized and play the full song? Bad reputation? Of course not. But as you can see, if we go back here, Ronda Rousey showed up at, of all things, Ring of Honor in front of the smallest possible audience. So we have Ronda Rousey showing up at Ring of Honor when they have a big debut coming this Saturday at AEW Full Gear. Now, why in the world would they have Ronda Rousey show up at a paid streaming audience only that's going to be even smaller than the 60 to 120,000 pay-per-view buys they may do for Full Gear? Something that's even smaller than that. Obviously it's not the million viewers you're gonna get on Dynamite, or 900,000 viewers you'll get on Dynamite, or 600,000 on Collision, or 300,000 on Rampage. No, what's smaller than that? Ring of Honor. Remember that? AEW owns Ring of Honor. Yeah, and you can only watch it if you subscribe to Honor Club and watch Ring of Honor every week. And they debut Ronda freaking Rousey on Ring of Honor television. Now, why would they do this, you ask? Crazy, genius business decisions, if you ask me. Obviously, you want this big pop in front of a much larger audience, in front of a big crowd at a pay-per-view. Why didn't they do this? Well, to me, the answer is quite simple. Mercedes Moné is debuting and signing at Full Gear, and they simply don't want to have her debut overshadowed by the debut of arguably the biggest women's name in all of combat sports, in Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is arguably, in my opinion, a bigger signing than Mercedes Moné. Do I think she's more talented in pro wrestling? No. Mercedes Moné, my favorite women's wrestler, for sure, in the world. But Ronda Rousey, name value wise, by far a bigger signing. So if you're going to have Ronda Rousey, even if it's for limited dates or just a few dates, and you've got her on your show, you're going to put her on there. But if your big signing and your big deal is Mercedes Moné, then you might not want that crowd reaction to get dwarfed by the reaction that Ronda Rousey first debuting on your stuff might get. So you get the big surprise. Everybody's got to go subscribe to Honor Club now. You want to see these big surprises. I think you do the same thing, and he's like, well, you don't want to miss an AEW pay-per-view. You have Ronda debut there. But I can appreciate the mindset that if you have Mercedes Moné there, you don't want an Adam Cole situation where his debut was dwarfed by the debut of Bryan Danielson moments later. You have a huge debut like Adam Cole, great way to close the pay-per-view, but you have an even bigger debut after that in Bryan Danielson. In my mind, if Mercedes Moné is the big signing, she's signing for probably multiple years. Whereas Ronda Rousey, you might only have her for select dates. Maybe you did lock her up for a year. Who knows? I don't imagine she wants to do a huge schedule, which AEW I'm sure can accommodate. But I see the argument as to why you would have Ronda Rousey have this big pop because you're going to show her at the pay-per-view anyways. So you get them talking about her now. Everybody knows she's there. So you don't overshadow the debut of a Mercedes Moné. Now, why do I think they're doing this and they're going crazy? Well, I personally think that Tony Khan overreacts to fan criticism. I think he takes it personally. And I think way back when, if you remember, when Big Swole left the company or was let go from the company after she had that, quite a good feud with Britt Baker when Britt Baker was on the rise and she had the broken leg and did everything else and they had the fight in the doctor's office and everything. When Britt Baker was on the rise, she feuded with Big Swole. Big Swole got let go from the company, because Tony Khan didn't see her as a great wrestler and wasn't, and whatever other reasons there were. She was let go from the company. Big Swole accused Tony Khan, of all people, being a man of color himself, accused Tony Khan of being racist. Accused them of not pushing colored stars, not pushing people of diverse backgrounds, whereas it was pretty obvious. I mean, they had a trans athlete in Nyla Rose as their women's champion. They had Sunny Kiss as a very openly gay wrestler. They had, they were, I thought of all the companies, especially at that time, AEW was very inclusive. So for someone like Big Swole to go and accuse Tony Khan, again, who's not like a white guy, he's a man of color himself, mixed or not, the fact that she was accusing him of being racist and racially biased, I thought was crazy. But you noticed right after that happened, then they made, Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee the AEW Tag Team Champions. And then there was an immediate focus on diversity in their champions and in prominent matches and match types. Obviously, we're currently seeing the rise of Powerhouse Hobbs. But again, that's just talent, a cream rising to the crop. When you have someone like Powerhouse Hobbs, I mean, the cream rises to the top, as the Macho Man always once said. You can't hold a guy like that down. Like the fact that they're finally pushing him and he's really getting the thing behind him. He's quite green, right? He needs that ring time, but he is going to be a star for sure, through AEW and probably in WWE as well. That goes without saying. But I think at the time, they immediately went to, we need to put some titles and have some black champions. And I think that was an overreaction and defense of Tony Khan and the fact that Big Swole accused him of being racially biased and racist. I think you're going to see the same thing as that we've had a lot for months and months and months. We've had a lot of talk of how the women's division isn't being focused on enough. You generally get one women's match, maybe two, but for a long time it was maybe one match, maybe a segment on top of that featured the women. You weren't getting a lot of storylines with the women. I mean, for Pete's sake, when we saw at All In, when we had Saraya win the women's title in her hometown, great feel good moment. Clearly, Saraya was not prepared to wrestle a regular schedule. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have had her in more. But she literally defended the title like once, maybe twice before losing it again. So I just don't think she's able to wrestle on any kind of a regular basis, which is sad. But she had a feel-good moment at home, but had no storylines following. And that's a lot of the pick up and go, and there's like a lot of problems with the women's division in AEW. Now, what I see is we're going to have the news of Ronda Rousey going through the news cycle. Then you're going to have Full Gear. You're going to get the Mercedes Moné signings. You're going to have big news there. Then we're going to have eventually, I'm hoping soon, you're going to have Jamie Hayter returning. I think you're also going to see the return of Thunder Rosa at some point soon. We'll likely see Britt Baker get back in the mix. And then all of a sudden, you're going from no focus on the women's division to the only thing that anybody cares about is Julia Hart, maybe Sky Blue because she's hot. But you're not really getting a focus in the women's division at all to now we're going to have all this focus on it. where we're likely probably going to see a new TBS champion on the weekend in Julia Hart because she's become so popular. I think Julia Hart's going to win the title there. I think you're going to have Jamie Hayter coming back from injury. I think you're eventually going to get Thunder Rosa coming back from injury, Britt Baker coming out of the mix, and we're going to have Mercedes Moné and Ronda Rousey. So there's going to be so much focus, especially because I think it was a big loss to them losing Jade Cargill and Jade Cargill getting such a focus in WWE that I think Tony is going out of his way to make that focus on AEW's women's division instead of focus on this big loss of this up-and-coming wonderful star in Jade Cargill that they lost, and maybe also the debut of CM Punk coming up in Survivor Series. Maybe, who knows, we'll see. But I think he wants that focus to be like, oh, you got Jade Cargill? Well, look, we just signed Mercedes Moné and Ronda Rousey, arguably the two biggest free agents in women's wrestling possible. Much bigger names than Jade Cargill. Yes, Jade Cargill will be a star in the future, but right now, Mercedes Moné, biggest free agent you can sign for women's wrestling, and Ronda Rousey. Like, those are the two biggest names, and look who he's got, right? Look at this lady. She is a star. Regardless of her experience in the ring and how great she is in ring matches, obviously, Mercedes much better, but look at this. And she's with Marina Shafir, makes sense. Great tandem, makes sense. So to me, the only justification I have for Ronda Rousey signing, or not signing, sorry, but to debut and show up at Ring of Honor of all things, the thing that the smallest audience possible that you have. So the only talk about it you're going to get is from social media. Oh, look, you have to go subscribe to Honor Club now because we need viewers. It's like, if you debut someone at a pay-per-view, I understand you're getting way less eyes than you would on a Dynamite. Instead of 800 to 1 million viewers, you're getting 80 to 100,000 viewers. I get that. But having her debut on Honor Club at Ring of Honor, that to me is like way less subscribers than you would have in pay-per-view buys this Saturday. So the only logic I can put to that, other than Tony Khan has completely lost his mind and is just throwing money away and lighting it on fire, is that we're getting Mercedes Moné as the big signing on Saturday, and he did not want Ronda Rousey showing up, overshadowing that, but he wanted all the talk of the weekend being on his women's division, so that loss of Jade Cargill, who's going to be an up-and-coming star, going to WWE, now you're not focused on that. Now you're focused on, oh my God, he took both Mercedes and Ronda Rousey from the WWE. Who's on the winning side now? Yes, you got Cody. Well, we got Bryan Danielson. We got Jon Moxley. We got so-and-so and this and that and the other. Well, now you're taking our women. You took our up-and-coming Jade Cargill. Well, look, we got Ronda Rousey from you, and we got Mercedes Moné, two of the biggest names in wrestling. So I feel like he really takes the criticism personally, and the criticism on the women's division. I definitely see this telling me that this Saturday we're seeing Mercedes Moné debut in AEW, and she is that big signing. And you're going to have Ronda there. You're going to have Britt Baker coming back. You're likely going to have Thunder Rosa coming back. You're going to have Jamie Hayter coming back. And again, who's the champions? And Julia Hart on the rise. She's going to win that TBS championship, I think. And then it's just like, wow, all of a sudden, you have a star-studded women's division with storylines to come, and you can build on it. My only hope is that they really do work on the storyline elements. I think the last few weeks of Dynamite have been great, but again, I think it's Tony Khan takes all the criticism from the internet, because he grew up as a wrestling fan on the internet in the dirt sheets. He takes it personally. So we've been complaining we're not getting enough story in AEW, and it's just match after match, crazy match, great match, 5-star matches, who cares? There's never a story behind it. All of a sudden, the last few weeks, I've noticed a lot more storytelling in AEW's television. Whether for the better or not, MJF's been involved in like 6 different storylines, stretching him a little thin, maybe, but it really sounds, to me, I feel like Tony Khan takes this stuff to heart, and he tries to rectify it. It might take a month or two for the criticism to sink in, for the changes to transpire, but I really think he works on it as he gets the feedback. So, I mean, Ronda Rousey in AEW, even if it's for a one-off and you only see her at 3, 4, 5 events, or if she's, full-time there every week for the next year or two, I think it's nothing but good for the company. It's amazing. Why she debuted at ROH, again, you've got my thoughts on it. You know why I think it is. But yeah, I didn't want to make this a long video. I'm going to cut it here. I appreciate you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe in the video. Obviously, follow the podcast, the WGC podcast. I'll leave a link below to the WrestleBomb channel. And yeah, just let me know what you guys think. And do you agree? Do you think Mercedes Moné is a lock now for Saturday? I think she is. I think Will Ospreay also shows up. I think we get both of them. But I definitely think from this, the only thing that makes sense, the only reason Ronda Rousey's here and she's not the big signing on Saturday is because Mercedes they don't want to overshadow Mercedes Moné's debut. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. Anyways, that's it for this one, you guys. Dubious ones, take care. Peace.